President Donald Trump has claimed the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince had nothing to do with the 2018 murder of prominent journalist and dissident Jamal Khashoggi, despite US intelligence finding he'd approved the killing.
The U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office.
He's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Jason Rezaian is a former colleague of Khashoggi and global opinion writer for The Washington Post, and he joins me now from Washington, D.C. Jason, thank you for your time. And firstly, as someone who's a former colleague and friend of Khashoggi, what is your reaction to these comments from Donald Trump and also the Crown Prince in the White House today?
I think that the comments today were not only reprehensible, they were unnecessary. The murder of my colleague, Jamal Khashoggi, was something that the U.S. intelligence community confirmed to be high certainty, that was ordered or approved by Mohammed bin Salman, the guest of President Trump today in the White House. I think it was beneath the office of our president to invite this leader into really our highest office in the land, but then to sort of defend him without being asked. I mean, if you recall, the question was posed to President Trump. It wasn't, excuse me, to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, not to President Trump. So I think it was unfortunate, reprehensible, and I had sort of predicted that this would be the way that it went. Really not glory being shrouded on the office of the U.S. president today.
Tell us about Jamal and what led to his death in 2018.
Well, Jamal and I wrote for the same section of the Washington Post. We called it the Global Opinion section. There was just a handful of writers writing from around the world. Myself and Jamal and a couple other people were the only ones based in Washington, D.C. He was writing for the section for about a year. And the columns that he were writing were really forward-thinking appeals to the leadership of Saudi Arabia and other Persian Gulf states to open up, to liberalize. We hear a lot about supposed reforms and modernizing efforts by MBS and other leaders in that part of the world, but they're not opening their societies. They are not democratizing their societies. They're not respecting human rights any more than they ever have, and that's really what Jamal was calling for.
You've met Mohammed bin Salman. What were your impressions of him?
I think, at the time, and this was before the murder of my colleague Jamal, he came and visited the Washington Post editorial board in the spring of 2018. I walked away from that session thinking that, one, he's lying about the efforts that he will undertake to reform his country. I also felt a startling lack of humility. I guess that's to be expected from someone who has been coddled and prepared from birth to lead such a oil-rich nation. But ultimately, I also found that his charm offensive was effective for Americans. He can trade in the same pop culture references as we can, speaks good English. I wouldn't say that he's necessarily charming or charismatic, but he's affable, but also clearly someone who is not afraid to do whatever it takes to eliminate critics. And I think that's something that we all need to recognize and call it for what it is.
And so his reception, MBS, the deals, the investment that is being done here, how is this likely to be received by the domestic audience there, but also internationally?
I don't think that most Americans are familiar with the track record of the Saudi regime in terms of the repression of its citizens. There was a lot of talk today about massive Saudi investment into American infrastructure, but also, there's a big arms deal involved. And there is discussion that this man and people around him would like to buy major American media companies. I think that should be very chilling and horrifying to Americans. We talk a lot about the freedom of expression, our First Amendment. Some people, like to talk about making America great again. I think our freedom of expression, our right to assemble, our right to criticize, that's what makes America great. That's always what's made America great. And we should be doing everything we can to protect that, not selling it to foreign leaders.
Jason Rezaian, opinion writer for The Washington Post and also former colleague of Jamal Khashoggi, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.